the one that I went for certainly hasn't got the accolades in soccer to back it up, but in terms of impact and in terms of, the legacy that he will arguably leave behind, whilst it may be for some and not for others, I went for James McClean. Simply because I think he's done a huge amount of good things that are often overshadowed. And I have huge admiration, political agendas aside, I have huge admiration for somebody that stands on their own 2 feet and speaks up for what they believe in. And I think there's a lot to be tucked from that. And when you look at today's modern age of social media and the abuse of social media, whilst he has maybe at times said a few things that have been, antagonistic to some people and whatever else, I still think James McClean's impact has been huge. And I know you might say going for James McClean is a bit of an outlier or something like that, but I just felt as a Derry man, a Derry City man, and a lot of the really good charitable work that he's done in his own area, I just went for James McClean.
Yeah, and I appreciate the credential of what he's done off the pitch and how you view somebody as more than just a sports person at times, and how well remembered a sports person will be. Nobody's going to forget James McClean anytime soon. That is for sure. Could you just talk a little bit more about that in terms of how his supporters in County Derry view him and with how much adoration he's viewed by some people?
I think the biggest thing, as Cahir pointed out at the beginning of this call, and of course it's a very sensitive issue when you're talking about many of the obstacles that we face here in the north. But there is a very clear divide in how people see things up here, and James McClean has come out a lot and give reasons why that he doesn't wear the poppy. He has give reasons why he feels the way he does about certain things in the political arena. And I don't think it would be unfair to say that sometimes the way he's come out and said it, or some of the way that he's maybe behaved on social media, haven't been perfect. But I mean, who amongst us are perfect? But as I said before, I just have tremendous admiration. I think that is echoed across a lot of the people, particularly in the nationalist community in the north here, that James McClean was willing to stand on his own 2 feet and say, you know what, I'm not just going to follow the crowd for the sake of it. And I think largely he has been very, very respectful and given the reasons why he hasn't done that, So I just think, as you correctly said, that's a big reason why James McClean's legacy will not be forgotten. Whether people want to remember it as positively or negatively, that will be at their own discretion, and that's totally their opinion. And I'm not here to force my political opinions on anyone. But my reasoning for going for James McClean is that I have an admiration for somebody that had the courage to stand up and speak and give the reasons why he felt a particular way. He's hugely passionate about his community. I can share them sentiments from where I'm from, and he is, as Cahir will no doubt also claim, I mean, James McClean is very, very well revered in Derry City, Cahir. I think that would be fair to say. And I know he's done a fair bit of charitable work up there too. And, his legacy off the pitch in that way has been largely positive.
That's an interesting point, actually. So can you just explain that in the context of what Cahir said earlier on about the rural-urban divide, perhaps, that exists in County Derry, and how McClean and his supporters perhaps transcend that you were saying that he's got a lot of support in the city, but also, I presume, in rural Derry as well, he'd be very well supported.
Yeah, I think he would. I mean, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, you're almost stereotyped.
Okay.
If you're a Gaelic player or you're part of the Gaelic Association, you're automatically labelled as supporting one side, or if you're a unionist, you're automatically labelled as supporting another side or whatever else. But thank God that kind of small-mindedness is now starting to change, and we're moving into a more progressive society, which of course we all support. But James McClean would certainly have a lot of supporters, I would say, from the GA community. He's very open and he's very passionate about his Irish identity, and he doesn't hide that. And, you know, with all due respect, why should he hide the fact that he's very, very proud to be Irish? And he's a very, very proud Derry City man, obviously, too. And I know he's played a wee bit of Gaelic football for Sean Dones in the city, but, you know, I just, again, have huge admiration for somebody that has the courage to stand on their own 2 feet and be proud to be Irish, to be proud to be from Derry. And of course, that hasn't made him always the flavour of the month. And like I said, he could maybe have articulated his views at times in a slightly more diplomatic way, perhaps. But again, there's not many people in Derry that don't know James McClean. And there's not many people also that will forget his name too easy either.
For sure. And there have been questionable moments on social media, for example, from James McClean in very recent history. But it's a candidate and it's a strong candidate. You will have the option to make one change later on. And like you can tell that the James McClean conversation, whenever we have it, is one of the more fascinating we always have. And in my opinion, I think that always strengthens somebody's candidature when it comes to these sort of conversations for Mount Rushmore.